Welcome to This Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because, well, we're tackling something that literally affects absolutely every single one of us every single day. We're going to look at how we process the world around us, but more importantly, how we handle new information. Think about it for a second. We are constantly bombarded with data, opinions, facts, the whole shebang. But how much of that actually makes it into our brains? How often do we truly allow ourselves to learn versus simply defending what we already know? Today, we're exploring the architecture of intellectual agility. We're going to map out exactly what happens in our minds when our deeply held beliefs are challenged.
Now, I want to start by asking you a question, and I really want you to be brutally honest with yourself when you answer it. Is your ego making you stupid? It's a harsh question, I know, but think about your immediate gut physiological reaction when someone contradicts a tightly held opinion of yours. Does your heart rate go up? Do you immediately start formulating your counter-argument in your head before they've even finished speaking? We all do it. Our ego steps in like this giant bouncer at the club of our mind, deciding what information gets in and what gets violently rejected. But we really have to ask ourselves, at what cost?
I want you to let this next thought really sink in for a moment. Rigid thinking doesn't protect your intelligence, it blocks your growth. We so often confuse stubbornness with mental strength. We kind of think that if we dig our heels in and refuse to budge, we're somehow demonstrating fierce intelligence or unwavering principle. But that feeling of being unshakable, it's an illusion. It is a complete illusion. That rigidity isn't a fortress protecting your brilliance, it's a brick wall, and it's one you've built right in front of your own path forward, completely stifling any actual progress. Section 1. The Ego's Shield. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get a grip on this mindset, let's picture our first archetype. Just a simple stick figure, representing the default human defensive posture. Imagine this figure standing perfectly safely, completely tucked away behind a giant, heavy shield. And written boldly across that shield are the words, "My opinion." In this state, this person isn't interacting with the world at all. They're hiding from it. When you hold up a shield like this, you aren't examining your environment. You are literally preparing for combat. Every outside thought, every differing viewpoint is instantly perceived as a hostile attack that just must be deflected at all costs. And all of that is just to protect the fragile ego hiding behind that wall.
Now, watch what happens when actual data arrives. You see those incoming circles representing new evidence? They just bounce harmlessly off that thick shield. Boink, boink, boink. They fail to make any impact whatsoever. It literally doesn't matter how well researched the evidence is, how logically sound the argument is, or, honestly, how much it could potentially improve this person's life. The shield of my opinion is perfectly designed to repel it. The information never even reaches the person behind the barrier.
Which brings us to Section 2. Stuck in rigidity. Now, I have to ask you, where are your feet stuck right now? Because there's a massive hidden cost to holding up this shield. And it's something we rarely notice until it's way too late. When you spend all your energy holding up a massive defense mechanism, you lose your mobility. Take a closer look at our shield-bearing friend. They might feel completely secure blocking all that incoming evidence, but they don't realize their feet are actually submerged. They're totally stuck in heavy cement blocks labeled rigidity. And man, this is the true tragedy of the ego. In its desperate attempt to protect you from being wrong, it creates complete and total stagnation. You can't walk forward, you can't climb, you can't explore. You are perfectly safe, perfectly right, and perfectly paralyzed. And this perfectly illustrates the sheer absurdity of the whole situation. Growth versus stagnation. Our rigid thinker stays incredibly small, completely locked in place by their cement shoes. And to make matters worse, what are they doing? They're angrily pointing their finger, blaming the new evidence for being wrong. It's kind of funny when you see it drawn out like this, isn't it? The pure stubbornness of human nature. We will literally stay tiny, trapped in a cement block of our own making, and yell at the universe for bringing us facts we just don't like.
Section 3. Dropping the shield. But listen, there is another way, one that requires vulnerability and, frankly, bravery. Let's move to and see how this builds, looking at the progression of the agile thinker. Step 1. They actually drop the shield. They lower their defenses. And yes, sure, this exposes them, but look what happens next. Step 2, because their hands are finally free, they can reach out and catch the new evidence. They hold it, they examine it, they integrate it. And because of that, step 3 naturally occurs. They physically grow taller than the first figure. By abandoning that desperate need to be right all the time, they achieve actual growth. They step right out of the cement and elevate their perspective entirely.
Section 4. Redefining true intelligence. So, the crucial point is, society often teaches us that the smartest person in the room is the one who has all their opinions locked down. The one who can argue everyone else into submission. But let's put these two approaches side by side. On one side, we have rigid thinking, the heavy shield, the cement shoes, the deflected evidence, the total stagnation. On the other side, we have belief updating. Smarter individuals actively look at this comparison and they consciously choose belief updating. When presented with really strong evidence, they don't dig their heels into the cement. They realize that letting go of an outdated opinion isn't a defeat, it's a massive upgrade. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful new definition. I really want you to memorize this one. Intelligence is not a static reservoir of facts you accumulated 10 years ago and now fiercely defend. Intelligence is an action. It is the dynamic, continuous action of changing your mind when presented with better information. It's a verb, not a noun. If you are not actively changing your mind, you aren't really exercising your intelligence. You're just acting as a security guard for a museum of old thoughts. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final, deeply personal question to ponder. Just look inward for a second. What piece of strong evidence is bouncing off your shield today? Really think about it. What data, what feedback, what obvious truth are you currently deflecting just because it threatens your ego? I challenge you today, drop the shield. Step out of the cement. Catch the evidence and allow yourself to truly grow. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.